They are the team who have given us hope after 10 long months of lockdowns, disruption and, of course, the loss of so many lives.
Well, while the world stood still, watching the number of deaths and infections steadily rise, an incredible team spent hours hunched over microscopes and trawling through data, all while juggling the demands of young families and homeschooling.
Well, in November, the team at Oxford University were finally rewarded with the news that their vaccine was effective, and on Monday it was rolled out across the UK.
Well, we really are delighted to meet two of the women behind the jab, Professor Katie Ewer and Dr Maheshi Ramasamy. Welcome to both of you. And firstly, thank you so much for your hard work and dedication that means that we can talk about this and have some hope in what we are going through right now. Dr Ramasamy, I mean, you watched with the rest of us, really, with this impending doom as China, we saw the infection levels rise and then spread across Europe and finally come here. At what moment did you sort of think, right, hang on, this is something where we need to take this very, very seriously?
Well, that's right. At first, it just seemed a bit of a curiosity, this report of this strange new disease that had come out of China. And then we started to see cases coming into Europe, in Italy, and we were hearing these terrible stories of hospitals being overwhelmed and medics being overwhelmed in Italy. And that's when we realised it's coming, and we started bracing ourselves for it here in the UK. And by the time we started seeing the first few patients at the beginning of that first surge in March, we just didn't know what to expect, but we knew it was going to be bad.
We, Professor Ewer, know, we know very little, obviously, as the public, but we know a lot more about this sort of particular subject now because of you guys and the fact that so much has become public. You think, oh, I know, well, I never knew how that worked, and now we do. What was fascinating me this morning when I was reading was that Professor Sarah Gilbert, who thought that a global pandemic of this nature was highly likely, and so created a template, and it was a vaccine that could quickly be adapted to combat multiple diseases. So there was a foundation in place just in case.
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of the work we do at the Jenner is based on this platform technology, and we've designed lots of different vaccines around this same technology. And the idea is that you have a system that's ready to go, that you can adapt to any new disease so that we can respond as quickly as possible and be ready to make millions of doses if something like this happens. So we'd already tested this type of vaccine in lots of different people for lots of different diseases like malaria, flu and Ebola before COVID even happened.
So, Dr Ramasamy, in those early days when we were all locked down and didn't really understand what we were going through and all scared, really, and you were going into the lab and working on this, what were those moments like for you?
Pretty scary, actually. I mean, so having gone from working in the NHS where we were seeing these desperately unwell people coming in, and at that stage we didn't know how to treat this disease. It was a new disease to all of us, and just feeling so helpless that there was nothing we could offer them. It was a huge motivation for me to try and help develop a vaccine that might actually prevent people from getting sick in the first place.
And so, Professor, with this template in place, and seeing the fact that you have to act and act quickly, what surprised me also was you adapted it really very quickly, but it's the time is taken in testing it and making sure that it's safe.
Yes, and that's because a lot of the background work had already been done. So all of the safety testing had been previously done for different diseases. We knew how to make millions of doses using this type of technology. We knew how to be able to store it in a fridge. So really, when that sequence came through and we were able to plug it into the platform technology, a lot of the background work had already been done. So although it feels like this is a new vaccine, actually the vast majority of it has been around for more than a decade.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's good to know that, because at the beginning of all this, we were saying, well, we're relying on a vaccine, but as we know, vaccines take tens of years to get through the system. And so suddenly, when this vaccine was developed, and it was all very exciting that it happened within under a year, the public became worried and scared that actually this had all gone through too fast and therefore had concerns. Dr Ramasamy, what would you say to alleviate people of those concerns?
Well, as Katie has said, we have a lot of experience in using this sort of platform of vaccines in people before. With this particular vaccine, we've given it to over 23,000 people across the world, and we've monitored them very carefully. We've looked very carefully at at the safety of those participants. That is the heart of what we're looking at. Is this vaccine safe? And we will continue to monitor those participants going forward for many more months to come. We've submitted all our data to the independent drug regulators. In this country, that's the MHRA, and they've independently verified that this vaccine is safe.
What do you say to the anti-vaxxers, both of you?
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think at the end of the day, people need to make their own decisions about whether or not to have a vaccine. But I would say, as somebody who's seen firsthand the effects of this on patients, on their families, and then also across the wider NHS, our ability to deliver things like cancer services or non-urgent operations. I mean, to me, it's clear that a vaccine is an important way out of this, and I would encourage everyone who's offered a vaccine to have one.
Professor Ewer?
I think it's important to remember that anti-vaxxers are a very small minority of the population. Most people, I think, understand that the work that we do is done in good faith. We're independently having the safety data tested and assessed. It's not us that decides whether the vaccine gets rolled out. That's done by the government's JCVI and by the MHRA. So we produce the best data we possibly can, but then that decision is handed over to people independently of us to decide whether it's safe or not. So I think most people are sensible. Most people understand that if we want to keep people out of hospital and we want to prevent people ending up in intensive care, then having this vaccine and going and taking it as soon as it's offered is the quickest way to do that.
You're obviously part of a big team that have helped to achieve what you've done. It's worth pointing out here as well, lots of parents right now today are facing that challenge of homeschooling and working, and you both faced this during the first lockdown. More pressure than anyone, really, because you both got, I know, Professor Ewer, you've got 2 children, Dr. Ramasamy, you've got 3 children.
And you're saving the world.
And you're saving the world. You are superwomen. How have you managed to do this?
Well, I've been very fortunate that my husband was furloughed in March, so he has really just done everything on the domestic front. He did all the homeschooling and is now back to doing it as of Tuesday as well, along with everybody else in the country. So I've been really, really fortunate that I've been able to just completely focus on work while he's taking care of everything at home. So I'm really grateful to him. I couldn't have done it without him.
And Dr. Ramasamy, were you ironing your kids' school uniforms when you found out that the vaccine had gone through?
Yes, that's true. I'm afraid mundane household chores still need to be done, even when you're working on a vaccine in a global pandemic.
Can I ask you now, Dr. Ramasamy, about the new variants? As we've heard now, we've talked about the initial platform and the fact that can be changed and adapted, and so we know there is the one variant, the Kent variant, which is 70% allegedly 70% more contagious. There is this potentially worrying South African variant that the doomsayers, the people who constantly look on the dark side, are saying, well, it could dodge the vaccine. What do you say about these variants and the vaccine that you have created and its adaptability?
So it's very important that we continue to monitor things closely, and we're looking precisely at that, whether there's any impact of the new variant or on the likely protection afforded by a vaccine. And we're working together with partners around the UK and in South Africa to gather information on that, and we'll be looking at that going forward. In terms of how well this vaccine can be adapted, I think that's probably best answered by Katie, actually.
So, Katie, how worried are you about the South African variant?
Okay, so I think it's important to understand the way the vaccine works. So it trains your immune system to recognise the spike protein on the outside of the virus. But your antibodies and your white blood cells and your immune system, they don't just recognise one part of that spike. They recognise lots of different parts of it. So even if there are odd mutations here and there, you will still have other antibodies that can recognise other parts of the spike. So at the moment, I'm not very concerned about that. I think it's something, as Maheshi says, that we need to keep monitoring and looking at. But at the moment, I don't think there's any reason to suspect that the vaccine won't work on the new variants.
Well, that is...
In terms of... Sorry.
No, you carry on, please.
I was just going to say, I mean, obviously this is a platform technology, and if we had to make a new version of the vaccine, we could do that, but I don't think that's where we're going at the moment.
Can I just ask you, because we were talking yesterday about the brilliant achievement already, and once again, it's easy to see the glass half empty when we are streets ahead of the rest of Europe in the amount of people we're vaccinating at the moment. We should be proud of that, and the fact that we've got the supply and the demand, and we've got to get it out there into as many arms as absolutely possible. But the other thing is, you know, we're all probably being quite selfish in the world, actually, at the moment, and looking just at our countries and what we're doing. You guys have got to vaccinate the world, Professor Ewer.
Well, not me personally, but yeah, so one of the things that was very important to the university when this deal was set up was to set it up in a way that the vaccine could be available to everyone. So we've signed a contract with AstraZeneca where the vaccine will be provided with no profit while the pandemic's ongoing. And for low and middle income countries, AstraZeneca will never make a profit from this vaccine. And that means that the very large scale manufacturers like the Serum Institute of India, who can produce hundreds of millions of doses, can provide those as cheaply as possible for as many countries and as many people that need them. And that was really, really important during the development of this vaccine for us. That's what we really wanted to do.
I mean, that's just incredible. Like, we're just hearing you say that, saying those words, that's what you set out to achieve, which is remarkable. And you did it. Like, how does that feel?
It's a huge team effort, and it feels amazing to have, worked so hard over the last year, and to see this vaccine being rolled out in the UK is just brilliant. And we hope soon across the world. Just one more thing to add on to what Katie was saying: our vaccine can be stored at normal fridge temperature, which means that it's actually a viable option for low and middle income countries, where we can tap into existing infrastructure that's available to deliver, for example, childhood immunisations. We don't need fancy technology. We just can use what already exists.
Do you feel, Professor, positive about the future now, about March, April and beyond?
Yeah, clearly it's going to take some time to vaccinate everybody who needs a dose in the UK, and that's going to be a huge undertaking for the NHS. But I think this is the best chance we have of bringing infection rates down, seeing fewer people admitted to hospital, seeing the NHS being able to better cope with what's happening at the moment, and for us all to, get kids back in school, to be able to go and see our families. I didn't get to spend Christmas with my family, and I hope that by Easter we'll be able to do all of those things again without worrying about putting, our loved ones at risk. So I do feel hopeful. There's a big job still to do, but it's looking more positive than it was, definitely.
Well, congratulations and thank you. On behalf of everybody, thank you so much.
To you and the rest of the team, as Dr. Ramasamy was saying there, it is a big team. Quite a lot, mostly women, I think, we were told this morning. Not that makes any great difference, but it's just a brilliant set of minds from around the world, around the country, coming together. I know you don't. I can't see them currently. I can't see your capes, but I'm sure they're probably superhero capes are on underneath your shirts. But thank you so very much for what you and the team have done for us, and we're in great admiration and massive thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye.